So I'd like to begin by introducing you all to the panel. Gert, who you've already heard from, he's a journalist, a photographer, director, author, and founder of the French NGO Planète Amazon. Planète Amazon works in close collaboration with indigenous peoples from all around the world and their allies to preserve and restore the Earth's imperiled ecosystems. He has a very long-standing relationship with many indigenous leaders, renowned leaders, including in particular the remarkable Chief Raoni who you saw in the film. He's perhaps the best-known voice of the Amazon for many, many decades. Gerd Peter is also an executive committee member of the Alliance of Mother Nature's Guardians. And we have Jojo. And then we have Jojo, who you've seen briefly appear in the film. She's the co-founder and the CEO of the Stop Ecocide International, which advocates for the recognition of ecocide as a crime at the International Criminal Court. She has overseen the remarkable growth of this movement, and I've had the great honor to witness her incredible work with this movement, while coordinating between legal developments, diplomatic traction, and public narrative. Stop Ecocide generates fertile collaborations all around the globe at every level of society. And as a result, legal recognition of ecocide is emerging as a powerful driver of change and key solution addressing the worst harms and threats to our planet. And we have Esmeralda, Her Royal Highness Esmeralda of Belgium. She's a journalist, a documentary maker, a keynote speaker, and an author. She's co-produced documentaries and written several books about her family, environmental issues, and women Nobel Prize winners. She is a very passionate environmental and human rights campaigner and has spoken out on a number of very sensitive issues. She also has a very personal connection with the subject matters in the film. Next, we have Vadelise Vayron, who we saw also in the film. She's been leading her people, the Guarani Kiowa people, since her father was very brutally murdered. As a woman leader and as an indigenous leader, Vadelise and her family, including her daughters, face death threats and other forms of violence because of their identity as indigenous peoples. However, it is exactly this, her indigenous identity, that fuels her efforts. Despite the challenges she faces on a daily basis, she is committed to speaking out and holding governments and institutions accountable for the destruction of the land that her tribe lives on. And then we have Apollinaire Usotoleo, is that right? Thank you. He's a geographer, a naturalist, an engineer in planning and municipal management, and an agri-environmentalist. He spends his time engaged in expert work in land management and land jurisprudence, the laws of nature and indigenous knowledge, decentralization and local governance, and biodiversity management. He is also a wisdom keeper from Benin and carries the traditional and indigenous knowledge from his country and is a sought-after speaker on this topic. He is also on the executive committee of the Alliance of Mother Nature's Guardians. And last, but very, very importantly, we have Yves Beguenot, who will be translating today where needed. Thank you, everyone. So welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for being here. And I invite you to bring your advocacy, your thoughts and your feelings to the questions. I'm going to address one question to each of you in turn. And then I'm going to have questions from the audience, so start thinking about what you'd like to ask. And then we'll have some final comments from the panelists. So, Gert, if I can start with you. What was it that inspired you to make this film? And, do you think that films like this can contribute to changing the paradigm that we currently find ourselves in?
Je vais parler en français, encore une fois. Ce qui m'a donné justement, il y a deux choses qui m'ont donné l'envie de faire ce film avec Esmeralda. D'abord, c'est la rencontre que j'ai fait avec Esmeralda, où j'ai découvert que finalement le lien que j'avais eu avec le livre de son père, aujourd'hui, il y avait une continuité dans ce combat-là.
Okay, so several grounds to make this documentary. First of all, my encounter with Princess Esmeralda and the conversation we've been having together, how I've been inspired by her father's book, and how this documentary could be a continuity of this discussion. And yes.
Parce qu'il faut dire que J'ai rencontré le chef Raoni à 18 ans, donc c'est-à-dire vraiment très très jeune, et j'ai fait des recherches sur lui. Je suis tombé sur le livre du père d'Esmeralda, le roi Léopold III de Belgique. Ça a été une très forte inspiration quand j'ai voulu en savoir plus sur le chef Raoni.
And I met Tribal Chief Raoni, what we saw on the extract of the documentary when I was 18 years old, so it struck me a lot. And I studied, and I found out the book by Esmeralda's father was no one less than King Leopold III, and that's from there that I started my pathway towards this making of this documentary ultimately.
Il se trouve que Esmeralda n'avait jamais encore été sur les traces de son père au Xingu, et j'ai trouvé que ça pouvait être une très belle histoire d'aller avec elle là-bas. Ça, c'était déjà un point de départ.
It happens that Princess Esmeralda never did the trip back to Xingu, where her father traveled, so I thought it would be a very beautiful story to do it with her.
Mais aussi, et j'allais dire et surtout, c'est ce qui se passe ici dans ces COP qui nous a donné en fait l'envie de faire ou ce qui ne se passe pas justement dans ces COP qui nous a donné envie de faire ce film.
I spoke about two drivers, and the second one is obviously what happens in these conference of parties, in these COPs, or more precisely, what doesn't happen in these gatherings, that drove me to direct this documentary.
Et l'une des choses les plus inquiétantes, c'est que, par exemple, l'accord de Paris, l'accord de Paris sur le climat, qui restait très vague évidemment sur la question des peuples indigènes, ne s'orientait pas du tout vers une consolidation de ce que nous avions déjà construit ensemble depuis 30 ans.
Quand tu dis construire ensemble, qui?
Nous, tous les pays, oui, tu as raison de demander la précision, la communauté internationale, avec le Brésil.
Okay. And besides, the Paris Agreement remained only very vague and unprecise about the indigenous communities, and didn't reflect what had been consolidated and guaranteed by the international community over the last 30 years of negotiations.
Le sommet de Rio de 92 a été un moment fondamental, vraiment. C'était le sommet de la Terre, c'était un sommet de tous les espoirs.
Rio 92 was really a moment of great hope. It was the Earth Summit, and we thought that everything would be possible from then.
Et évidemment, les chefs d'État ici ne veulent pas s'en souvenir, mais il y a eu à cette époque-là un accord mondial pour lancer un grand programme de coopération internationale pour protéger les forêts tropicales au Brésil.
So this Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, the heads of state today won't remember, but they did pledge something very important. They reached a general world agreement to raise a fund in order to protect tropical rainforests in Brazil.
Et dans cet agenda, dans ce programme de coopération internationale, il y avait un soutien financier à la démarcation des terres indigènes, c'est-à-dire le tracé des frontières de toutes les terres indigènes au Brésil.
And within this international cooperation, there was a line which was about financing what we call in Portuguese demarcation, which is the titling and the drawing of the boundaries of every indigenous territories within Brazil. There was some budget dedicated to that huge task.
Et qui avait inspiré ce programme de coopération internationale? C'était les indigènes eux-mêmes qui avaient lutté pour que leurs droits soient inscrits dans la Constitution au Brésil, donc environ 4 ans avant que le sommet de la Terre de Rio n'ait lieu.
And he who fought so as to reach this international agreement were the very indigenous peoples who were concerned with this delimitation of their land. And they wanted this right to be part of the Brazilian Constitution, which the last one, the still valid one, which was voted and is valid since 1988. We are speaking 4 years before Earth Summit, which took place in 92.
Bon, la Constitution du Brésil de 88 avait une exigence claire. Elle disait tous les territoires indigènes doivent être démarqués dans un délai de 5 ans.
And there was very clear in this Brazilian constitution, there was an article which stated that every territory, every indigenous land should be demarcated, delimited by 5 years after the entry in vigor of this constitution. We're speaking then 1993.
Bon, bien sûr, les 5 ans n'ont pas été tenus, mais quand même, ce qu'il faut rappeler à tout le monde ici, c'est que nos pays, les pays du Nord, ont investi pour protéger les territoires. Il y a beaucoup de territoires qui ont été démarqués, quand même. Donc les territoires indigènes protégés se sont faits avec une coopération internationale. Et après, je raconterai ce qui s'est passé au tournant des années 2000 rapidement.
So of course, this deadline of 93 has not been kept. However, many indigenous territories have been demarcated, and this with the help of international cooperation.
Et tout à coup, au tournant des années 2000, des génies de la finance se sont dit « mais pourquoi pas gagner beaucoup d'argent avec le changement climatique ?» Et ils ont inventé ce qu'on appelle un peu la finance verte, ce que nous, on appelle le colonialisme vert.
And around 2000, some magic kids from the finance world came up with this idea of green finance, which we call green colonization, and wanted to make money on the back of these territories.
Et donc, à partir de là, nos pays à nous ont arrêté aussi d'investir dans la démarcation des terres indigènes. Donc, ce n'est pas seulement le Brésil qui n'a pas tenu ses engagements, c'est tous les pays qui ont changé, on va dire, de direction et qui ont un peu abandonné les peuples indigènes au passage.
Then the northern countries which did help demarcating those territories in the 90s stopped helping, and it broke the momentum of the northern help towards demarcation of indigenous land in Brazil.
Donc on a fait ce film avec Esmeralda pour rappeler cet agenda absolument crucial qui n'est pas terminé et qui garantit aux peuples indigènes leurs terres, l'occupation. Et on n'en parle pas du tout dans les COP, pas du tout. On parle que de crédit carbone ou autre.
So that's why Esmeralda and I insisted in making this documentary, to remember people that we had pledged to help indigenous people demarcate and have the clear delimitation of their territories, because this is a crucial process, this is a right, and we need to guarantee it.
Sorry, though, it was a bit long.
No, it's perfect. You know, so many of us see things that are not right in the world and just let it go by. But you've witnessed this since you were 18, and thank you so much for saying, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to create this film which will go out into the world and awaken and educate so many people, because people don't know what is going on. So thank you so much for doing something. So thank you so much. So Vaidalis, you have had serious, very serious, as we saw in the film, first-hand experience about what is happening to indigenous people in Brazil in relation to the demarcation of their territories. In particular, you have inside experience about what some elements of the Brazilian Congress have tried to do with the Marco Temporal. Can you tell us a little bit about what the Marco Temporal is and what has happened recently?
Boa noite
Good evening.
a todos que vieram, todas que vieram, mulheres, homens, todos que estão aqui. Gratidão.
To all who came, men, women, I am really grateful for your presence here tonight.
Bom, eu sou liderança indígena e também antropóloga, formada na Universidade de Brasília.
I'm both a tribal chief and an anthropologist with a diploma from the University of Brasilia, the capital city of Brazil.
Bom, dito isso, acho que eu entendo um pouquinho já de papel e consigo também fazer o papel falar.
So I understand what paper is, and I'm trying to have this paper talk.
Eu acho.
I'm trying.
Bom, quando se trata do marco temporal, para nós indígenas, no Brasil, trata-se de um apagamento de uma história trata-se a tentativa de apagamento de uma história sangrenta.
So it's quite complex to sum up what Marco Temporal is, but it's an attempt by some Brazilians through a law project before the Brazilian Congress to restrain the right of indigenous people to get their land demarcated by restraining the time period over which they would have this right, thus reducing the possibility, the number of territories, the surface of territories, and by saying that they have to claim it up until a given deadline, or they no longer have rights on their territories. So this is like erasing history.
E quando saiu, nós, indígenas, todos nós indígenas no Brasil se juntamos contra o marco temporal, juntamente com pessoas, aliadas, que também estão junto com nós nessa luta pela vida do povo indígena.
So we gathered all indigenous peoples. You've seen on the screen how many tribes, how many ethnicities, how many groups are gathered in this fight, plus allies, men and women, non-indigenous people who went to Brasilia, to the capital city, and kept on fighting for our lives.
Esse marco temporal para nós, antes mesmo de ser aprovado, trouxe para nós um massacre muito grande no estado de Mato Grosso do Sul, no Brasil. O estado de Mato Grosso do Sul, hoje, agora é à noite, lá é dia, os latifundiários estão atacando várias aldeias Guarani Kaiowá, estão sendo destruídas, massacradas, mulheres e crianças, nossas lideranças, nós mulheres somos ameaçadas, perseguidas e mortas, nesse momento está passando ali, por causa desse marco temporal.
This, which is called in Portuguese Marco Temporal, this law project, which in the meantime has been voted and is now a law, has provoked, even before becoming a law, some massacres there in Mato Grosso do Sul, one federal state of Brazil in the western southern part of Brazil, bordering Paraguay, Argentina, and Bolivia. And they are having massacres of villages perpetrated by large landowners and their gunmen, and they assault on a daily basis. Now it's night here in Dubai, but it's still day over there. There is a 7-hour time difference, and as we speak, there are women, children, leaders, people there being assaulted on an everyday basis.
A semana passada, agora, quando eu estava me preparando para vir, foi atacado a aldeia pelos pistoleiros, pelos policiais militares, pela Polícia Civil e pelo Departamento de Operação da Fronteira, que é uma polícia que vive única e exclusivamente a mando dos latifundiários para matar nós, Guarani Kaiowá.
And last week there was an assault, and what is frightening is an assault by the military police, the civil police, and the border police, which is supposed to be keeping peace on the border, but is being paid by these large landowners who want to exploit indigenous territory, or overlapping with indigenous territory, wanting to exploit gold, timber, or mining operations.
E ainda, além de alguns 38 feridos nesse massacre, ainda não encontramos 3 desaparecidos. E nós acreditamos que a essas alturas não está mais vivo, porque quando eles pegam, eles torturam e matam.
So in this last week assault, we've counted 38 wounded and 3 disappeared members of our small village. They are unaccounted for, and by now we think we won't find them again. They are either tortured or killed by those gunmen.
Por isso que hoje, todo o tempo, todas as pessoas que tiraram a minha foto, a nossa cara é feia, mas é caro, dizia o meu pai, o cacique Marcos Veron. Por isso, ele dizia, a nossa cara é feia, mas é caro. Então, eu queria pedir para vocês, com essas palavras, que vocês possam compartilhar o máximo possível todas as denúncias da Valdelice Veron no Instagram, no Facebook, porque é o único socorro que eu tenho no momento para socorrer o meu povo. Nós, Guarani Kaiowá, no estado de Mato Grosso do Sul, somos um povo esquecido. 170 mil indígenas Guarani Kaiowá esquecidos, que estamos passando por massacres.
So today I've been, and in the last days, I've been taking photographs with you, guys, visitors, participants of this COP. And you may have seen on my face like a grin, not a smile. But my father used to say that this is the face I have because of our problems. My grin, is my face. So please remember that. And keep exposing those assaults, all that I've been telling you, because this is the only way to go for us. Those people are exposed.
E como mulher Kaiowá, eu quero dizer a vocês que o meu corpo está marcado por todas as violências que vocês, mulheres, não imaginam. O que eles fizeram comigo, com nós, mulheres Guarani Kaiowá.
We're speaking of 170,000 people of this ethnicity, Guarani Kaiowá, from the Mato Grosso do Sul federal state. And my body is scarred with such violence. And you women, you can't even imagine how bad this violence has been.
E agradeço a vocês por terem vindo, vocês, cada um de vocês que está aqui, e a Princesa Esmeralda por fazer esse apoio, essa voz que parece ser tão pequena, mas é muita força, é muito grande que está trazendo para o povo no Brasil e também no estado de Mato Grosso do Sul, que está dando essa pequena voz que me deu aí nesse vídeo.
So I would like to thank each and every one of you who is present today with us, watching this, debating with us, and to thank Princess Esmeralda, which has helped us bring this voice here. Even if it's only one voice, it is a strong one. I am representing not only my people, but also the federal state of Mato Grosso do Sul.
Agradeço a Jojo, a Judy, a Susan e Maite por uma grande paciência comigo nesse momento, com todos esses dias que passei aqui.
I'm thanking especially Georgia, Susie, and Maite for the help that they've been receiving over the last days here. They've been very patient with me.
Agradeço o Gert por ter feito a câmera falar pela vida do povo indígena no Brasil.
And I thank especially Gerd and Esmeralda for giving me the opportunity to speak up on camera on this documentary.
Agradeço ao Polinaire pelo o sorriso, o abraço e essa força também que está com a gente, e espero que também possamos um dia realmente dançar o canto e a dança sagrada da alegria.
I also thank Apollinaire for his smile, for his a way to hug me for his strength. And I hope that one day we'll be able to dance and chant the dance of joy.
Eu termino com esse canto. Araguajupona, 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 Ipojupagura, 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 Arapojupona, 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 Arapojupona.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your words, and I'm so, so sorry for your loss. Thank you for everything that you've done for all future generations, for my 6-year-old daughter, and for your children and grandchildren. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I want to give you a big hug. Yeah. Let's maybe, can I wait a minute, that's it. Gracias. Thank you. Perdón. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you. Gracias. Sorry. Thank you. We all need to take a breath. And now to you, Esmeralda. So you're back here at COP28 bringing the stories of the Indigenous struggle. It's so important that you're bringing them here, and thank you. Can you talk a little bit about how you believe that historical colonialism may relate to what's going on in Brazil today with the people today and with what happened last week?
Yes, of course. I think everybody is under the emotion after Valdez. And before I reply to your question, I want to say that this is only what motivates me, is what they experience every day, men and women, but particularly the women, because they are facing violence and horrible violence. So I think everybody in the world should stand with them. So to reply to your question, of course, we know, and recently there was a very serious scientific article about climate crisis, which for the first time in a scientific review linked colonialism with the climate crisis. I mean, NGOs, activists have known that for a long time, but it was the first time a scientific paper related the fact that it was obviously the Europeans coming to all those lands, Africa, Asia, Latin America, doing that extractive policy, that monoculture that brought the crisis we have now, and also the situation of the indigenous people who were treated like second-class citizens and who still today are facing the same racism inside their countries. And also, when we talked before of green colonialism, we see that the multinationals continue to extract in indigenous lands, in the global south, resources that are mainly used in our part of the world. And the local population get very little about that. So yes, there's obviously a link. And also we know, it has been proven, that indigenous lands are in the best biodiversity state everywhere. Now we have reports, all of that. So it's it's evident that we need to protect those lands, also for us, for the future of humanity, but mainly for justice first, because it's their land. They are the original people of Brazil and all the other lands. So I just want to say again what we have said and what Valdelis said, that every day they put their life on front line to defend their land and our future. And environmental defenders are killed each week in the whole world, mainly indigenous, and the mean is 4 defenders each week. So let's just reflect about this. 4 defenders of the environment each week.
Thank you, Esmeralda. For each week. Moving on now to Jojo. So Jojo, the film brings in the topic of recognizing ecocide, mass destruction of nature as a crime. Can you tell us a little bit more about what this means, why it's important, and particularly in the context of the Brazilian Amazon and the situation there right now?
Thank you. Yes. So one of the things that I think is becomes clear through the film and also through what we've been hearing here is that existing environmental laws, of which there are many also in Brazil, are not proving adequate to protect the rainforest, just as in many other parts of the world, they are not proving adequate to protect other vital ecosystems. But particularly in Brazil, there's a huge percentage, for example, of deforestation that is actually illegal. There is a huge percentage of gold mining and other mineral mining that is already illegal. And yet, it somehow is not able to be stopped. And one of the things that was, I think, certainly shown in the film, whether it came in this extract, I don't remember, but it's, when we look at the areas that have been demarcated for indigenous, recognizing indigenous territories, those territories are protected. They are effectively preserved, and they're able to be, to exist in their natural state because of the way that the indigenous cultures exist in harmony and in close harmony with the natural world. So the demarcation is very important, but it is also, as we've been hearing, not enough. There's additional law that is needed. And perhaps the key reason for that is that the globally dominant economic system is based on a culture, it's based on a way of thinking that separates us from nature, that has us treat nature as an infinite bank of resources, even though intellectually we know that's not possible on a finite planet, but our systems have grown up with that assumption over generations. And we continue to not take destruction of nature seriously. We simply, even though intellectually we can see that destroying these vital ecosystems occupied by these people who really understand how to look after them, when you talk about it intellectually, you can understand it, and yet, here we are for the 28th time, having conversations around what to do about climate when the key systems that maintain our climate, we're incapable of protecting them. So what we aim for as an organisation, Stop Ecocide International, is to criminalise those worst harms, and to do so at the international level, so that we put a foundational piece in place that can support the laws that are already there, but also, really importantly, that can change the way we think. Because when we put genocide and ecocide on a level, and Valdelis has been so eloquent at explaining that in the Brazilian context, those two things are completely intertwined. When we put those on a similar level, we start to understand that destruction of Mother Earth is just as bad, dangerous, and wrong as destruction of people. So it's really, really important that we put that foundational piece in place, and particularly for those countries, to do so at the international level, for those countries where the existing law is inadequate, it gives that additional level of being able to have recourse where individuals can be held accountable at the highest level. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jojo. And Valina, thank you. So you were present at an incredible gathering in 2015, invited by Chief Raoni. This gathering we saw a little bit in the film, and it also became the convening of an alliance of Mother Nature's guardians. Can you tell us, what is the wisdom that this alliance brings to the world? And why is it so important for humanity as a whole right now?
Merci beaucoup. On a une seule race sur cette planète, c'est la race humaine. Et on a une seule terre, c'est cette planète qui nous a vu naître, qui nous verra partir un jour.
So we have only one race here on Earth. This is the human race, and we have only one planet, which is this Earth, which saw us being born and which will see us go away someday.
Un adage populaire de mon peuple dit: quand la maison du pauvre est en train de brûler et le riche croise les bras, le feu peut embraser sa maison aussi.
And there is a popular saying back home in Benin, which says like that: when the house of the poor is burning, the rich may cross his arms, but the fire may catch the rich's house too.
Les difficultés de ma grande sœur, les problèmes que affrontaient les peuples brésiliens, les peuples de l'Amazonie, le cri du cœur de Cacique Raoni nous interpelle, indigènes ou non, et ça m'a interpellé parce que je viens d'une communauté qu'on a massacrée, on a détruit des forêts, on a traité mes grands-parents de sorciers, de sorcières, et on a tué des innocents.
So when I hear my older sister beside me, Valdelice, when I see all what's happening with the Brazilian peoples in the Amazon, and when I hear the cacique, tribal chief Raoni shouting, it comes from the heart. It's a call from the heart. So it touched me, and it has an echo what has happened in my own country, where our community also has been massacred, and where my father and my family has been called witches.
Donc aujourd'hui, on doit faire, c'est vrai, on ne peut pas oublier totalement le passé, mais on doit tourner dos au passé et se mettre ensemble dans l'alliance, c'est de revoir l'avenir pour dire les oiseaux de même plumage doivent voler ensemble et qu'on puisse revenir à cette prophétie de l'aigle et du condor, l'aigle symbolisant les pays très riches qui peuvent exploiter, faire de l'industrie, mais qui doivent connaître leurs limites, et le condor dans l'intelligence de conserver, d'avoir une bonne relation avec la nature, doit voler maintenant ensemble avec l'aigle pour qu'il y ait la paix. Parce que le réel problème, c'est la division, les maltraitances entre les humains qui agissent plus sur la nature et créent le problème du changement climatique. Donc l'alliance, c'est de nous mettre ensemble pour marcher ensemble et vivre ensemble pour la paix ensemble.
So we cannot forget the past entirely, but we need to look further. We need to gather. That's the main reason of creating this alliance of the guardians of Mother Nature. We need to look toward the future, and we need to fly together as birds that we are. There are two kinds of birds. We've got the eagle, which represents the rich, who exploit who know all the techniques and other technologies. And you have the condor. Condor? Okay, easy. Which present the intelligence of knowing how to live together with nature. So we need both the eagle and the condor to fly together. And it's a metaphor of ourselves. We need to learn to fly together too, because at the heart of the climate change is the division among us, human beings, and the ill treatments we give to each other. So we need to learn to go, to walk, to fly, and to live together.
L'Alliance n'est pas seulement pour les peuples indigènes, mais c'est même porté plus par les non-indigènes et qui on appelle non-indigènes parce que nous sommes venus de quelqu'un et quand on remonte même en arrière, on est parti quand même parce qu'on était ensemble avec les non-humains dans la forêt et quand on a connu le feu, on s'est séparés. Moi, je suis allé du côté de l'Afrique peut-être et d'autres sont allés ailleurs, mais on est de la même humanité et c'est de ça qu'il s'agit pour qu'on puisse, au-delà de nos forces destructives, que nous puissions considérer les peuples qui meurent pour sauvegarder la planète pour nous. Et voilà l'Alliance pour la sanctuarisation des forêts qui restent, pour des actions pour reconnaître que les crimes contre l'eau, contre la terre, contre l'air, contre la forêt constituent une criminalité qu'on peut punir. C'est de l'écocide, ça n'a pas autre nom. Si on a connu de génocide, aujourd'hui, tous les jours, on connaît de l'écocide parce que je ne suis pas venu avec mes bouteilles d'oxygène. Je respire l'air de Dubaï. Si l'air de Dubaï est pollué, tout le monde prend. Ici, quand il va pleuvoir tout à l'heure, quand il pleut aujourd'hui ici, les gouttes d'eau ne vont pas choisir que je suis noir, quelqu'un est blanc. Les gouttes d'eau tachent tout le monde. La terre de Dubaï nous a accueillis, nous tous, on n'a pas amené notre terre ici. Ça veut dire que nous devons nous sentir chez nous, partout où on est, et quand il y a un problème quelque part, quand c'est détruit quelque part, nous sommes tous concernés parce que la vie, on n'a qu'une seule vie, on n'a qu'une seule planète. On est venu de la terre, on partira un jour, mais quelle terre laisserons-nous à nos enfants? C'est pour cela qu'avec le cœur que nous avons, on s'est mis ensemble pour défendre cette terre. Je vous remercie.
Wow. Wow.
So this alliance...
Okay.
Je vais essayer de rendre tout, t'inquiète pas. This alliance of the Guardians of Mother Earth gathers indigenous representatives of indigenous peoples, but not only, it also calls for the support of non-indigenous people. And we call them non-indigenous because we had to part ways. We were once living as together with indigenous, non-indigenous, non-human, and we had to part ways. I went to Africa. I crossed several countries in Africa, and we see destruction all around, people dying, and we need to really ring fence our forest. We need to expose the crimes against water, against earth, against forests, against air, and we need to call them ecocides. We've known genocide, now we have ecocides. And because here in Dubai too, I breathe normally. I didn't bring my oxygen bottle from Benin. I'm breathing the air from Dubai, and if it's polluted for everyone. And when the rain falls in Dubai, which I haven't seen yet, it falls for everyone. The drops don't choose to fall on white people or on black people. They fall for everybody. So we all striding the earth in Dubai, and we should consider home everywhere on earth. And when we see destruction somewhere, we should consider its destruction for other peoples on the rest of the planet. Because we need to keep earth for our children and to defend it for future generations. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wow. Well, we've already had an incredibly powerful, vital, and moving conversation so far. I want to open it up a bit to the audience. And so we're going to ask a few questions. We've got a few minutes. And I would just ask you, there's going to be time to make comments afterwards to the speakers, and please do speak to them afterwards. But if we could keep it just to questions to the speakers. Who would like to go first? Does anyone have a question? I can't see. No questions? Oh, yes. Thank you, sir. Can I borrow that? Thank you, thank you.
Hi, I'm William, working for an NGO in Bangladesh. I was quite shocked by the communication that was made the last few days on fairness and justice in the mouth of a politician. I think last year was a very beginning at the last COP. Today is a bit stronger, but when we hear the story in the film and in the panel, it looks like there is a huge gap on this topic of justice between what we hear at the political level and what is lived at the field level. I don't know how you feel about it, but is there a hope that you see also some little progress on that, despite the terrible story that we've just heard? So the question is, do you see any change in this concept of justice at the COP level?
Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone have a burning desire to answer that? Yeah.
Nós temos, a única coisa que nós temos que, eu acho que ser humano, nós humanos temos que se agarrar numa esperança, né? Mesmo que eu tombe e morra, eu sei que essa luta vai continuar, porque temos crianças, temos muito ainda que vão se levantar, vão continuar essa luta. E mesmo que a gente for todos os mortos, assassinados, o nosso sangue vai gritar na terra, gritando pela justiça. O nosso sangue continuará gritando nos rios, o nosso sangue continuará gritando, mesmo derramado ali na terra. Então, quanto à política, a gente sempre tem várias formas de promessas, mas o concreto, a realidade mesmo, se vai ou não, por exemplo, demarcar e homologar a nossa terra Guarani Kaiowá, é um pouco distante. É muito distante. E nós precisávamos essa demarcação e homologação hoje, porque nós estamos passando um massacre, nós estamos morrendo. Então, essa é a minha roupa tradicional, nós somos Kaiowá, nós somos povo tradicionais, eu falo minha língua, eu canto, eu danço na minha língua. Eu não vim aqui brincar de deusa da floresta, eu vim aqui pedir socorro.
If there is something which is very specific to human beings, is hope. So we always try to clutch to the last hope we have. And even if we fall and if we die, the fight goes on. We have children. And even if all children and all of our people are assassinated or die, the blood, our blood will still stain earth, stain rivers, will shout for us. As for politics, there are several ways of pledging, but concretely we need demarcation, we need homologation of those lands, we need titling. But to be very candid, these solutions seem very far away, while we need solutions right now. So we are dying, we are being assaulted and massacred, so we need solutions now. And if I'm wearing my traditional clothes, if I speak my language, I sing and I dance, it's not to play God or forest, it's to defend our way of life.
Quando fala de ecocídio, quando jogam veneno, o glifosato nos nossos rios, estão matando não só nossos peixes, porque nós também bebemos, nossas crianças bebem água. E acontece muito aborto espontâneo em todas as mulheres Guarani Kaiowá. E nós não temos onde recorrer. Como nós vamos fazer boletim de ocorrência se a própria polícia também ataca a gente? Então, não tem como a gente separar o genocídio do ecocídio, não tem como separar o ecocídio do epistemicídio, porque se a minha mãe, uma matriarca, nós somos Kaiowá, nós somos matriarcal por natureza, e se uma mulher indígena morrer, Kaiowá, matriarca, está matando todos os saberes com ela. Então, não tem como separar o ecocídio do genocídio, o epistemicídio. Então, estão todos juntos. É um crime internacional. Tem que ser aprovado urgentemente isso.
About ecocide, they are poisoning our waters, our rivers, with fertilizers, glyphosate, I don't know how you say. Yeah, but she said fertilizer specifically, but mercury too, from illegal gold mining. And some women are losing their children while pregnant, spontaneous abortions. And how to complain when if you go to the police station, the very police officers are the one assaulting you anyway. So we are speaking of killing. It goes beyond simple murders, because when they kill our women, our mothers, since our society, our people, indigenous people, Guarani, Kaiowá, is organized around mothers and women. It's a matriarchal society. They are killing knowledge when they kill our mothers and our women. So they are ecocide, genocide, and when we're speaking of a whole ethnicity, epistemocide, all three are interlinked and connected. We need to really expose these international crimes.
Thank you so much. Gert wanted to make a comment.
Oui, je voulais dire que ce qui est vraiment absolument insupportable avec la situation de Val-d'Hélice et du peuple Guarani Kaiowá, qu'elle explique très bien, c'est que la démarcation, en fait, est un process qui est donc inscrit dans la Constitution avec des étapes. Ça prend très longtemps normalement. Et pour la plupart des terres qu'ils veulent retrouver comme peuple autochtone, ils en sont à la toute dernière étape. Les documents sont prêts et le président, normalement, n'a plus qu'à signer. Et pourtant, on en est encore là, en fait.
Okay, what is unbearable in what Val-d'Hélice is telling us is that this demarcation process, this delimitation process of indigenous territory is a very long administrative process. And even if it's in the Brazilian constitutions, it takes very long. Though in Val-d'Hélice and people's case, Guarani Kaiowá, they are at the very last step, and there is normally only the signature of the president which is still required, but it's still taking very long.
Donc c'est abominable parce que toutes les étapes ont été faites les unes après les autres, et ces gens continuent à se faire massacrer malgré tout, et des entreprises étrangères continuent à exploiter, à développer de la canne à sucre, des entreprises qui sont identifiées, ce n'est pas des entreprises qui n'ont pas de nom. Il y a des entreprises européennes qui sont sur son territoire et qui profitent de la situation. Et Lula a promis dès sa campagne qu'il voulait démarquer toutes les terres indigènes, mais la situation est tellement complexe et tellement dangereuse que quand il a commencé à signer le décret de quelques terres indigènes, il n'a pas priorisé le peuple Guarani Kaiowá, alors qu'évidemment c'est la situation la plus grave. Il devrait le faire immédiatement et ne le fait pas.
So this is an abominable situation because even if they have gone all those steps forward and they're only awaiting the president's signature, they are still being massacred on the ground. You've got some foreign companies, European ones, exploring sugarcane on their territories, for instance. And even if Lula, when elected at the beginning of 2023, re-elected as a president, has promised to demarcate and to give them their rights, he didn't sign the document related to the Guarani Kiowa population. It's a very complex and perilous situation, and I would add that because Lula doesn't have the majority at the Brazilian Congress, with a very strong rural caucus against him, his policies. So it's difficult, and he didn't sign, which would have been a very symbolic act of demarcation of the Guarani Kiowa territory.
Juste pour finir, donc, ces produits que ces gens, que ces fermiers assassins produisent vont en Europe, vont aux États-Unis. Si nous, on ne fait pas notre part et qu'on continue en fait à fermer les yeux, les massacres vont continuer et les terres ne seront pas signées. Donc la pression doit venir aussi de nos pays pour aider le peuple Guarani Kaiwa à enfin avoir la signature de leurs décrets qui vont reconnaître leurs terres une bonne fois pour toutes.
There is one more step, one thing we can do from our side, because the products that are being exploited illegally on indigenous territory is being exported then to the US or to the European Union. So by not buying them, we help the Guarani Kaiwa getting closer from the signing of the demarcation of their territory.
Thank you.
We can make some pressure from our side.
Thank you, thank you. So Jojo, you know, it appears that we need ecocide now, ecocide law now. How are we going with the progress? How close are we to that becoming an international law?
Well, things are actually moving very fast. So it feels like, and when you were talking about the, you know, are we seeing anything changing, you know, at the COP level, it feels to me like it's not within so much within the climate negotiations, but actually these particular individual initiatives like ecocide law or the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty, for example, that are really gaining ground and moving forward. And you know, these things are not silver bullets. It's not like we put ecocide law in place and suddenly everybody's going to stop damaging Valdelis people. Obviously, that would be ideally what would happen. But what is so important is that what it creates is a level of responsibility internationally, a level of deterrence internationally where individuals can be held accountable, that can then make a difference in these situations. But I would also come back to the importance of this film in this context, because actually so much of this is about education. And this film is really, in its current format, is perfect for actually going out to universities, for example, to give a kind of, you know, a historic but also an on-the-ground and felt expression of what's happening, you know, which shows the importance of demarcation and, of course, the importance of ecocide law. But just a couple of small drops of hope, perhaps, to finish with, is that this conversation around criminalizing the worst harms to nature is currently moving very fast, actually faster than we expected. There is clearly an appetite out there. There's been a key milestone, an international proposed definition that has triggered political conversations around the world. Just in the last few months, there have been several proposals of law put into parliaments in different national jurisdictions, including in Brazil. And interestingly, despite the situation outlined around the fact that there is still a strong Bolsonarist contingent in the Congress, you know, and it's certainly a fraught political context, the first step has already been passed. It's already gone through the Environmental Committee and been approved. So, you know, we don't know its whole journey, but that is also a positive step. And most amazingly, really, after a year and a half of negotiations and discussions, the European Union has just, literally a couple of weeks ago, has just come to political agreement to include environmental crimes comparable to ecocide in its environmental crimes directive. So that means that 27 states within the next 2 years will have to step in this direction in quite a major way. So that's a very encouraging piece of news. So watch this space, talk about ecocide, talk about the demarcation of indigenous lands, and let's keep this conversation alive and moving.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jojo. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sorry. It's all we have time for. We've actually run over a little bit now. But this brings us to an end of this incredible evening. It's not the end. We can carry on talking afterwards. But I hope that this has ignited in you or reignited in you the passion and the urgency that all of us are feeling right now about protecting the heart of Mother Earth. So I'd like to thank the filmmakers so much for this incredibly powerful film. It's a beautiful creation, which I know is going to gather its own life as it goes out into the world next year, and we can all help it do that. I'd also like to thank very much the Extreme Hangout for hosting this event this evening, and all our incredible panelists, every single one of them. Thank you, thank you. And also to thank all of you. I know there's many, many events going on, and you all chose to be here tonight, so thank you so much for being here. So this is not the end of the evening. It's the end of this event. Please come and speak with the panelists afterwards. And also, we're going to continue this evening. We have some Indigenous brothers and sisters from all around the world coming to share prayers, songs, dances, ceremony with you. So when we finish here, if we could move out there for our first sharing. Thank you so much.